Officer, thank you for the opportunity to update Parliament on the publication this week of the 2024 figures for drug-related deaths in Scotland. First and foremost, I want to express my deepest condolences to the family, friends and loved ones of the 1,017 people who tragically lost their lives to drugs in 2024. While this week's publication is released as accredited official statistics, these 1,017 people are not simply statistics. They are parents, children, partners, brothers and sisters, friends, colleagues, loved ones, and neighbours. Lives cut far too short by the devastating impact of drugs. To all those suffering and who have suffered loss, I want you to know that you matter. I am determined to continually improve how we support you. While it's welcome that the statistics show a 13% fall in drugs misuse deaths from 2023 to the lowest level registered since 2017, let me be clear that these figures are still far too high.
So very briefly, before I get to the major point of contention with this little speech here. Sorry about my microphone's retardation. Point being though, before I get to the main premise of this, I think it needs to be said here that any attempt from the Rainbow Unicorn government, Scottish National Party, Scottish government, whatever you will, any attempt from them to sort of brag about a slight reduction in drug-related deaths in Scotland is somewhat cynical at best. Okay, it's not exactly anything to write home about in terms of the statistics in and of themselves, on the basis of, for example, they're referring to a drop such as this: Scottish drug deaths fall but remain worse than Europe. This is from the BBC, and obviously what Marie Todd there, or Little Mo from EastEnders, had to say. Basically, she's saying there's been a sort of reduction, a 13% fall in fatalities. There were 1,000 plus drug misuse deaths in 2024, which is down 155 from the previous year, right? So just to go on to NRS statistics, drug-related deaths, right? In 2024, there were 1,000 plus drug misuse deaths registered in Scotland, right? If we go to the year prior to that, 2023, there were 1,172 drug misuse deaths registered in Scotland. Okay, still far too fucking high. And as the statistics show, still the highest in Europe. However, the Scottish government will showcase or try to indicate that any sort of decline whatsoever, pat themselves on the back and whatnot. But that's not really my main point of contention with this. It's what follows up with this, okay?
Continue to address the unique challenges faced by women who use drugs. And with that in mind, I am pleased to announce that we are directing some of the additional funding in the drug and alcohol budget for this purpose. We are providing an additional 1.1 million to Aberlour Children's Charity to expand their intensive perinatal support services and improve support and targeted recovery services for women and their babies. In Glasgow, we're delivering £750,000 through the Cora Foundation to support the development of a whole system solution to address the barriers that women affected by substance use often face when they're accessing services. And we know also for young people, there's much more we need to do.
It's good to know. It's good to know that our so-called nationalistic government have got additional funding to pump into specific causes, specific avenues to prioritize women. Right? And I mean, don't get me wrong. Just let me backtrack ever so slightly and re-emphasize something I've said in the past. Right? the Scottish Government put themselves into the sort of precarious position of being open to ridicule, and they put themselves into the position where they are open to pushback, etc., because they have put themselves in the position where they themselves have said they're going to tackle specific issues such as drug deaths. Henceforth, if drug deaths continue to increase, or even if they decrease ever so slightly, etc., because they themselves have said that they are going to reduce the number of people in the country that die via drug misuse, it always puts them in the fucking frame for blame, right? That goes without saying. Okay. However, the government simultaneously, as I've also said in videos and streams and whatnot, way back in the day and whatnot, like they can't control people's lives in that regard, right? People will do what they're going to do. Okay, if you're going to go out and like get out your tits, get out your nut, the government ain't going to be able to stop that. That said, when it comes to the nitty gritty, when it comes to statistics, when it comes to percentage points, the very things that these people home in on, why is it that they just continuously fucking home in on women? Right? And I ain't no incel. I ain't no MGTOW faggot. I ain't no gadgy who fucking thinks that women are the scam of the earth and whatnot. There's plenty of weirdos out there who act like that. I'm not one of these people, but what is it with these feminists in our government? Right? Why is there additional funding being put into place to sort of prevent women from, overdosing or trying to stall or quell or curtail the amount of deaths that are female related in a drug misuse context, when misuse of drugs, death wise, is still very, very much a male orientated issue, right? Even from the very shit that Little Mo was referring to there, it says here in 2024, males were more than twice as likely to have drug misuse deaths as females, right? We could go to the year prior, 2023, when there was 1,172 drug misuse deaths, right? It goes on to say that males were twice as likely to have a drug misuse death. Okay, we could then go on to suicidality, which is another thing that seems to go under the radar here if it's not women related. And this is the same unfortunate truth. And sorry, male suicides increased by 34 to 590 deaths in 2023, while female suicides decreased, right? If the roles are reversed, unfortunately, the reality would be you would have somebody from the Scottish Government standing in our tin pot parliament banging on about more funding to be pumped into reducing female suicidality. Why are you making this a gendered issue, right? What makes any death, whether it's male or female, what makes any death any less or any more significant or insignificant? Why are you making this a gendered issue? Why do they continue to make this a gendered issue, right? I know many a man over the years who has died via overdose, right? And I know a few birds, a few women, whatever, over the course of my time on this earth who have died for the same reason. Do I feel any less sympathy because of the fucking gender in question? No, I don't. It's sad regardless. Why are they doing this? But they continue to do this, right? And if that wasn't enough, just to conclude this, we've also got alcohol as well. Right? Scottish alcohol deaths at 15-year high. Right? Number of people in Scotland, this was from last year, number of people in Scotland whose death was caused by alcohol remains at a high level. Again, scroll down, male deaths has increased to 861 and accounted for about 2/3 of alcohol-specific deaths. Female deaths decreased by 24 deaths to 416. Right? Every death is just as significant, as important as the next. But you don't see things in place for men. You don't see mental health services in abundance for men. There's no domestic abuse shelters, for example, for men. There's a fucking serious lack of charities out there for men specifically. But if the roles are reversed, there's a plethora of such for women. And I can't help but feel that there's an aspect of this being deliberate by our dickhead government because it creates a sort of divide and conquer attitude for some people. But the reality of the matter is, every death is just as distasteful and is just as unavoidable and is just as heinous and awful as the next one, irrespective of age or gender, etc. But why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? You know? And that's what pisses me off with this, because they give off the big I am about sincerity, and they pat themselves in the back when it comes to reducing drug deaths. They're fucking not reducing drug deaths, right? The same way that climate changes year upon year, fluctuations, etc. Same principle is applicable when it comes to drug deaths and alcohol deaths and whatnot. Homelessness, suicidality and whatnot. Right? It's got fuck all to do with the government. Again, let me go full circle here. The government have put themselves into a position where they proclaim that they're going to quell these issues, they're going to reduce these issues. Henceforth, they are liable for any pushback and backlash and whatnot. Right? But again, let me reiterate, what makes women so special? It doesn't make them special. They're not special. And that's not me being an incel. To be honest, I'm just saying, any female out there who has issues with drugs and unfortunately or sadly dies due to drugs, their death is not any fucking more important than a man who dies. A death is a death, all of which unfortunately could be avoided, all of which is sad in and of itself, that our dickheads in our government continuously make this agenda issue. And that's what really fucking annoys me. I have had my issues. Unfortunately, my fucking past and my present for the longest time came out in the woodwork over the course of the past few years and whatnot on the internet. But I still stand by absolutely everything I used to say back in the day before I relapsed in like 2022, because I've had my issues. Still stand by the very same things that I used to say back then. There's a fucking lack of things out there for people who end up that way inclined. But I'll be damned if I'm going to stand there and listen to crap that makes this a gender issue. Anyway, just saying. I don't know if this is divide and conquer. I mean, I'm not putting my tinfoil hat on or whatever. I'm just saying, come on. Anyway, adios.